That was a long intro. Hey everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today I'm going to be looking at the new version of Frontline that should be coming in update 1.0.1. So, right off the bat, the fundamental change, because obviously you've probably seen, well, you might not have, but Frontline was a game mode that Wargaming tested a whole year ago, literally last April in 2017, and then haven't really mentioned anything more about it or really done anything with it. But obviously they've been still testing it behind the scenes and fundamentally changing some of the base conditions for Frontline, and immediately it's down to tier 8. Previously it was tier 10, and not that many people, well, I guess quite a few people, but not the whole of the World of Tanks population could get up to tier 10. It's a rather expensive tier to play, right? And I guess what Wargaming are thinking, because maybe tier 8 matchmaking is really lackluster at the moment, maybe this will be an opportunity, if you absolutely hate tier 8 matchmaking, to dust off your tier 8 vehicles and take them into a frontline battle. So, what is Frontline? Well, Frontline is, I believe, 30 versus 30 combat that's split across 3 fronts, and here we can see the entirety of the 2 teams. Now, you can immediately divide it here between all fronts and my front. We can see that we're a little bit outnumbered by the enemies here, which must mean that we're going to hopefully be able to win one of the other flanks. So I'm pressuring the cap circle, and that's because on Frontline there are 3 different fronts which you can push. You can see down on the map, there's front A, there's front B, and there's front C, and I'm at front B. And unfortunately for me, there's a Ferdinand who's coming around the corner very aggressively to try and push my Pantera here, right? This is the P46 Pantera, the tier 8 Italian auto-reloading vehicle, and this is actually probably my favorite of the high tier auto-loading Italian vehicles, apart from the yeah, it doesn't look like you can quite escape artillery as he shoots me right over the ridge. I was trying to use that building there for a little bit of cover. So don't think you're going to be able to escape the wrath of artillery when you play Frontline, ladies and gents. Okay, so once you die, you get to respawn in the battle. That's nice. So I guess death isn't final, or shall we say destruction of your vehicle isn't final on Frontline, and you can scroll all the way along the bottom to be able to select whatever tank you want. Unfortunately, I can't scroll right now. Oh, actually, maybe I can if I hold down my control key, and you can see all of your different tier 8 vehicles. Now, a word of advice, something that I didn't do, is that if you're the kind of player who uses crews from, say, the standard tanks in your premium vehicles, for example, let's say you want to play your M48 A5 pattern. I just realized I've got the wrong screen there. Apologies. I've been covering up the whole of the tank on the bottom left-hand corner. Silly baby. Anyway, so let's say that you've got your crew in your M48 A5 pattern, but you want to train them up in the Super Pershing or the Pilot or something like that. Then sometimes your crew will not actually be in the premium vehicle. And so I wasn't actually able to use all of my tier 8 vehicles because I didn't put my crews in them before the battle started. So Wargaming, not sure if that's something that maybe you can automatically do, or if players are just going to have to remember to make sure to put all of the crews in the tanks they actually want to play in front line. So I guess you have to just click once in the tier 8 vehicle if you're using my mod pack to be able to set it all up. But you're going to have to do that for each vehicle that you want to play, which is a little bit awkward. Now, one thing that I was completely not prepared for in the frontline battle is that you actually have lives. I thought that you could just constantly respawn again and again and again. Is that a bombing run or is that a reconnaissance? I think that's reconnaissance. Is it bombs? We're about to find out whether it's bombs or reconnaissance. Looks like it is reconnaissance. It looks like our team just lit up most of the enemies, but unfortunately for me, I'm getting shot by a tier 8 light tank on the left. Now I'm getting lit up by UDES. We managed to take out the ISU 152 there. Well, at least my team does after I track him. He was trying to wiggle as he was getting away from us, a bit of a sneaky one. But as I was saying, I was completely ill-prepared for the frontline game mode because I did not realize that you actually have lives, and you can see them in the bottom left-hand corner, and that's why I moved my camera, because I was blocking the lives there. Okay, so you can see that I've used up both of my lives, I guess. And I'm getting another tank in 33 seconds. And so that means that if I die right now, I won't actually be able to play for another 30 seconds. And if I die immediately after that, then I guess I might have to wait the 5 minutes that it takes for you to get one of your lives back. Now, what that means is that people have to play fairly sensibly. You can't just YOLO around like a complete moron, kind of like I'm doing here in my Type 59, even though I'm trying to push forwards, trying to spot for my allies, trying to, you know, advance the front towards the D base here that you can see on the map. Fortunately for me, the Lorraine reloads and he manages to finish me off just before I was going to shut him down. But luckily, my next vehicle just reinforced, and so I'm able to load back into the battle. Now I load in my WZ-122, is this the 54? No, sorry, it's the WZ-120 1FT, and I actually make some terrible plays here, and I'm going to skip some of the gameplay and I die. And now I have to twiddle my thumbs for the next 3 minutes, ladies and gents. And so this shows you just how important it is to not kind of suck out and die, because then you're going to be leaving your team without tanks. And if we go to all fronts here, we can see all the tanks in red, so they're kind of like the, I guess, the bad players. That's not what I'm saying with XVM sniping, and I'm included in one of them. And that's because they have died so many times they do not actually have reinforcements. And obviously, if your team have got more tanks on the battlefield than the enemy, then that's going to be an easy way to advance through the front line. So one of the most stupid things that you can do in this game mode, just like I have done here, is die multiple times in quick succession and not allow your reinforcements to recuperate before then you die and then respawn in another vehicle. And so that means that you can't just drive in willy-nilly in this game mode. Even if you're kind of putting yourself towards the top end of experience and picking up a few kills, you're going to put your team behind, and so watch out for that. So having had a timeout in the naughty boys corner for a little while, I'm actually going to get to play the game again, and I want to spawn back in the new tier 8, right? The A44 Pantera. And so if you do decide to play the Frontlines battle mode coming in 1.0.1, God, the names are getting so confusing of these patches now that the full version 1.0 of World of Tanks has been released, right? Then don't make the same mistake I do. If you do find that you've only got one tank left, or even worse, no tanks left, make sure you then go to the back of the map and play safe. And so now I know about that, I'm going to be changing my playstyle and making sure that I don't let myself out, because then I could be sitting there for 4 minutes and 20 seconds. Now, this game mode is not going to be a permanent feature. Well, of course, Wargaming may change their mind. Everything is subject to change as this is on a test server, right? But they've suggested that this is going to be a limited time game mode for tier 8s, and I guess they're going to bring it out, see how successful it is, maybe retire it, bring it back. I don't know whether we're going to have it for a few days, a few weeks, or a few months, or if we're going to be seeing it maybe for a patch and then not have it for another patch. Maybe they'll work around the tiers. I don't know. One thing that I do know, however, is that it just feels so much more rewarding to play this game mode at tier 8, because of course you get an opportunity to get experience and to get progress in your tanks, and if you do choose to use a load of premium vehicles, then you're going to be making a load of credits as well. However, my goal was not to make credits while I was playing the Frontlines game mode. My goal was to just try and get around the map, try and use as many of the consumables I could, and see if I could pick up a win. And this Bat Chatillon 12T seems to want to try and take that win away from me, but luckily the artillery on my right shuts down the auto-loading French light tank. Great stuff there. Alright, so we can see that even if you have taken one of the cap circles, and that's we've taken A, we've taken C, and we're starting to fight for B, if you don't hold the line, then the enemies are still going to advance towards you, and they're actually advanced way deep into the red area here, which is a little bit awkward for us. Nevertheless, hopefully we can try and push them back. So I played this game mode for a couple of times, and did I feel that the attackers or the defenders had an advantage? Well, I think it was fairly balanced, really. I felt like you had an equal opportunity on the attacking and the defending team. I might argue that it's probably quite balanced. I both won games on the attack and lost games on the attack, and I won and lost defenses as well. So I don't think that it's just the attackers always win or the defenders always win currently, but we'll have to see how the server decides to try and formulate a meta, and maybe when people get more of an idea of the game mode, then they're going to be able to dominate it a little bit more. One thing that I'm a little bit concerned about with the Frontlines game mode, however, is that you can platoon in up to 5-man platoons for the first time in World of Tanks. And 5-man platoons? Oh, that's going to be pretty dominating on the battlefield. If I was together with 4 other decent players, I'd feel like we could easily just push a flank. We'd probably take one of the fronts, right? Or at least make the difference in the needs the team needs to make it. Alright, so you might have noticed my health pool was actually going up in the bottom left-hand corner. And that is because I went into a repair depot. And when you go into a repair depot, looks like you get your repair kit back, your med kit back, you get your health back, but I don't think you actually get to reload the tank like you used to. And oh, tag team! Oh wow, that WZ132 is clearly working very well with me. We both put affirmative in the chat as we ram to death a Bat Chatillon 12T. Okay, so now you're wondering, well, how are you playing artillery now? And that's because you've got a consumable. You've got a special frontline consumable. And I decide to fire it at the ISM. So I actually clicked twice there because there was a little bit of lag, so I fire a random shell. But as we can see, there we go. We got him. We destroyed him with our artillery strike. So I'm sure, being the QuickyBaby and occasionally maybe some of you lovely, horrible people decide to focus me, that I'm going to be receiving a lot of artillery strikes from players that save them up from all across the battlefield. It looks like the range was infinite, but I'm not 100% certain. Anyway, I was able to snipe at a completely different front, and so you can definitely use that to your advantage. And oh, here we go. This is why I enjoy playing the auto reloaders more than, say, those single shot tanks sometimes, when you can just go in and do that. But then again, you know, if I'd been playing in something like a Pershing, our reload wouldn't have been that bad. We could have probably still got the ISU 152, but it does feel a little bit sassy, you know, when you're playing in an Italian auto reloader. So I decide to fall back from the Ferdinand. I don't want this Bat Chatillon 12T to come and make fun of my WZ132 friend. I feel like we've got a bit of synergy. And I've survived for so long now, and oh, here we go! Yes! Grind him down! Yes! Do I want to fire the extra shell? I actually decide that... Oh, my gun is broken! I couldn't fire the extra shell because my repair kit was on cooldown. But here's another cool thing. Look, the WZ132 is using an Inspire consumable. And that is, that replaces, you basically get to choose whether you want to have Artillery Strike, Recon, whether you want to have Inspire, and that gets to boost your crew skills. Now, I don't know exactly how much it boosts your crew skill, but that's going to affect things like view range, your reload, your accuracy. It will affect everything about your vehicle. I guess it will also help your ground resistance, is probably maybe a little bit, although I'm not 100% sure about that because of your driver. Definitely it will increase your traverse speed. And so that Inspire can be a very useful trait if you were, say, in a large clump of your allies. Imagine if you were over here and you were using your Inspire ability. That might be what it takes for your team to be able to push through a flank. And so if you're a heavy tank driver and you feel like you're always fighting in large groups and you want to try and use your armor, then maybe the Inspire is going to be for you. Or alternatively, if you're a light tank, maybe you want to use the reconnaissance ability. But then again, if you're a tank destroyer, I guess having the reconnaissance ability where the plane flies over could be very useful as well, because you're not likely to be spotting for yourself all that much unless you're pulling off some kind of ambush. Anyway, I've decided that we're not really making any progress on the A flank, and instead I think it's better that we try and break through the B flank. Plus, the repair depot actually went on cooldown, and I didn't want to lose any more of my vehicles after I had to sit in the naughty boys corner for so long, right? And so I'm changing flanks now to go and visit a different repair depot so I can repair my vehicle at this one and then hopefully push on towards the E area. And as we can see, resupplying the tank, looks like my repair kit and my med kit came back there. It doesn't resupply your artillery strike though. That'd be a bit cheeky if it did that. Good thing it doesn't resupply that. So anyway, this has been a pretty good life. Now that we kind of figured out that our life matters and we can't just drive around recklessly, we're kind of digging in a little bit now with the I nearly said the Progetto, but this is the Pantera, the A44 Pantera. Okay, so now we're going to be advancing up towards the E flank, and we can see that our allies are taking the cap circle. Next, you might be asking, if you didn't watch my old Frontline video from last year, how do you actually win this game mode, right? And what's up with the time? It's just constantly increasing. Well, what happens is, for every point that you take, the A through to F, you gain minutes. I think it's either 5 minutes or 2 minutes that you gain, which allows you to then progress towards the enemy defensive locations. And the defensive locations are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that you can see on the map. And what that means is that these are, what that means, these are defensive kind of guns. They don't fire at you, but you have to destroy them. That's the idea, that you want to take out the big turrets of the enemy team. And to be able to destroy those turrets, I don't think you can damage them frontally. The only way that I found to be able to damage them, at least this was last year, was to get right up behind them and to fire into their weaker rear armor. So I guess that suggests that you can't just get a load of tank destroyers maybe in this position and bombard them. I'm not sure if artillery can damage them. That's something that if you know whether artillery can damage them, definitely clarify that in the comments down below. One thing I'd also like to highlight is that my frames per second of this video is rather lackluster, and it's actually nothing really to do with my computer. If I show you actually what my computer is doing right now, it's not even using up more than 60% of my graphics card or 50% of my CPU. There just seems to be some kind of poor optimization going on here for this game mode, but I'm sure that Wargaming will try and figure it out. Or maybe it's just that I'm playing in 4K, but if I'm playing in 4K, why wouldn't it just use up more of my graphics card? Anyway, I'm sure these are all bugs. Maybe they're going to be ironed out over the course of the test server, or maybe we'll just find out things about this and try and learn it. So I fire one into the Pantera. I decide not to fire the second one immediately because I want to wait for my shell to come back. But in retrospect, it looks like that was a little bit of a mistake because I could have just fired and probably had the full time to reload. But I guess I was focusing too much on trying to maximize the DPM of this vehicle, so a bit of a mistake there. And yeah, sometimes you should just go full auto in this tank. I really didn't think that he was going to play so well there and use the pillars to avoid my shells. Anyway, I fire 2 shots there at the Carnarvon, and look how good the rate of fire is of the tier 8 British heavy tank. He's able to fire that second shell at me, but we decide to fire our artillery strike on him. Are we going to hit him flush? Well, we're going to have to see 7 damage, 57 damage, 150. Not too bad, so we actually managed to pepper him a little bit. Maybe we take his tracks off, maybe he's used his repair kit now, maybe we can go to town on him and see what we can do. So 1 into his lower plate. We tried to side scrape out, but we're unable to do so. We put another one through his tracks, and we put a third through his tracks, and we can actually see that he's ammo ranked there, and we finish him off, and we get promoted to Major. So as you can see, there are ranks, and currently I'm top by, I guess, significantly. I'm 3 kills ahead of the next player there. So we've had a bit of a round when we actually started to try and look after our life. And the major difference for me between the Pantera and the tier 10 is just the unload speed on this tank is so much better. To have that 2.5 seconds intra-clip delay and then to reload the shells, it doesn't feel like it's such a big deal to just fire shots in this tank. And I just massively prefer this vehicle at tier 8 compared to the Progetto 65 at tier 10. Anyway, we make our way to another repair depot, and it looks like you can actually continue to fire while your vehicle's being repaired, so you don't even have to stop. But, unfortunately, doesn't look like I shined brightly enough in the early game, and we only have a minute left to try and finish off the enemy's objectives. So, as you can see in the top right-hand corner, it says that we have to destroy 3 of the enemy's objectives, so you don't have to take all 5, you only have to take out 3 of them. And you can also see that when you start to damage them, their hit points start to go down. And so what we have to do is basically damage as many of them as we possibly can. And we can see they've got 3,000 hit points, so that's quite a lot. But then again, not too much. That's kind of like 2 AMX 5100s who have got into position. And here's the turret. This has been our target all along. Doesn't look like I can penetrate the... Oh, it looks like I can penetrate the side, but I thought, why not just go to the rear? And while this is all in vain, at the end of the game, we're going to put 3 shells in, do a little bit of damage, get this turret down to less than half health, but the time is going to run out, I guess, because we didn't take the decap, and because we didn't take the decap, we didn't get those extra minutes that we needed to then be able to progress and take on the enemy base. So a bit of a misplay here by our team. Whether I should have instead turned in towards the left to try and take this area or try and breach through and just destroy the enemy's objectives is another question, but all we would have needed here was another minute and I would have been able to get rid of 4 and these players here would have got rid of 3, but still a very nice defense by the enemy team. And the rewards are pretty great. Look at this, 160,000 credits and 4,274 experience with 1,424 base for 8,662 damage and those 10 kills. But don't be a gold noob, otherwise you are going to end up breaking your bank account very quickly indeed. And so the frontline game mode, for me, it personally looks promising, and I think it'll be great to play this at tier 8 rather than at tier 10. And for all of you out there who are suffering with the tier 8 matchmaker, and constantly having to play against tier 10 tanks, then maybe this will be an exciting event for you to finally be able to progress towards the tier 9s in a safe manner. And oh dear, it looks like Ting Ting Tang has put on a little bit of weight. And on that bombshell, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, or maybe it was just useful for you. If you did, give it a thumbs up, but if you hated it, give it a thumbs down, and let me know in the comments what you think about the Frontline game mode. Do you think this iteration looks better than the last, or do you think that Wargaming haven't made enough improvements from last year and it doesn't look like it's going to be your kind of thing? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.